Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's live. Tonight, we're going to do something slightly different. We are going to do a dark web paranormal unboxing. Basically, all three of the panel members, Julie from Unearthly Wanderings and Sam from Life After Life, we've each got a box with our paranormal stuff that we've received off the dark web. This has been inspired by a video we watched by PewDiePie, where he basically unboxed a dark web paranormal box, and with quite hilarious results. And Sam thought it might be a good idea if we do one. So morning Seago, evening Seago. So it's up to you how seriously you want to take what is said in the next half hour or so. Hi, Pat. But what we'll do, we'll start off with Sam, because Sam's got the biggest collection of everything when it comes to paranormal. So, Sam, would you like to start off with the first thing you've got in your paranormal box?
Right, hopefully I'm at the right
that sounded
angle
a bit
here.
rude, didn't it?
Let me see now. Take my keyboard out of the way. Right.
Hi, Sam.
Where's the box? Right. Bought this one at Christmas time.
Okay.
And it's just called The Box, which is kind of a wee bit more sinister than having dark web box, mystery box.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Do you know when it just comes up with The Box?
Yeah.
You kind of get that feeling that not all is what it seems. And we've got some words that are used to get loads of views on YouTube. On the side here, we got 100% real here. And we got warning on top. Doesn't say anything about the warning, but it just says warning. As long as warning is in your video, you're fine. You get loads of views on YouTube. 3 a.m. challenge, scary, and poltergeist. And as you can see from the top of the box, it has not been opened. Not going to say anything about the bottom of the box, but I always open my box from the top. So that wasn't me. Okay. So, oh yes, it says 3 a.m. challenge, and I'm wondering, should I have opened this at 3 a.m.? So maybe, hold on a second.
I see it's got demon written on it as well.
Hold on a second. Hold on a wee sec. It's 3 a.m. We can open the box now. Bye. Where's my knife?
I've already pre-opened my box, folks.
I was fully organized. Oh, there it is. Yes, things are falling.
Pat seems to think the box is going to be empty, and Seago says it's full of dreams.
This is a great angle. I can just lift them out from the top. This is brilliant. Yep. Right.
This is where you need to insert the card that goes 1 hour later.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties and the colors. Oh, guys. And actually, the video that we got the inspiration from was the guy that done the mystery box opening was a guy called Stormity. And he was in touch. Right. Oh, yeah. First
of all, a package being opened in Ireland. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Right. Who wants a card reading? Because I got a card here, because I got this at Christmas time.
Okay.
And here's a card reading. To Sam, please look after my cat. Merry Christmas from Stromedy. So Stromedy has sent me his cat. Stromedy, if you see this video, don't sue us, please. Where is the flipping cat? Oh, there it is. Oh, guys. There's Stromedy's cat, and it's got weird Egyptian writing on the sides there. Anybody from Egypt can translate that, please? Apparently that's a cursed cat, and Stormy didn't like it, so he sent it to me.
Right, okay.
Because he doesn't like it. Because
Seago says, is it Schrodinger's cat? Right, Julie. So Sam's took out her first thing, which is, was it a cursed cat from Egypt?
Yes.
Okay. What's your first thing, Julie, then?
Oh, jeez. All right, let's have a look inside the box. I'm not going to lift the box up because it's quite big. But I've lost it.
You what?
I've lost it. All right. So the first item we
Jesus Christ, what is that?
It's a demonic haunted doll. You can
This is the
see
size of that head.
someone's cut her hair off here, and you can see her demonic black eyes.
Yeah.
But that's not. That's not all.
It looks like an alien. It's the size of those eyeballs. Look at them eyeballs.
So this doll, as you can see, has been used in some kind of demonic ritual. So she must be very haunted. See?
There goes your monetization. It's all over.
Oh, so there you are. There you have it. Our demonic haunted doll, who is said to move around the room.
That's some size head, isn't it? Look at them eyeballs.
Oh, there you go.
Right. This is the first item that's come out of my box. Apparently, it's the Philosopher's Stone. I received this obviously off the dark web. Apparently, it was touched by Harry Potter himself, and anybody who touches this stone can convert anything to gold. It's obviously the genuine item because, you know, I'm 24 karat gold. Look, and I'm touching it. So that is my first item. The Philosopher's Stone, all the way from Solomon's Mines. Sam, your next one? Try not to fall in the box, Sam.
Bag of sweets. Whoever said those, I don't know if they're cursed sweets. Sorry, I know you were hyped up for this. But,
what
yes.
sweets are they, Sam? They're not demonic jelly babies, are they?
No, midget gems.
Midget gems, okay.
Okay.
Did they come with any paranormal instructions?
Natural colours.
Okay.
No, I can't make out this funny. I thought I could, but I tried.
Okay. Julie, what's in your box next?
My demon box. Next up, we have, perfect thing to follow up Sam's lollies, we have a demonic fruitcake.
Look at the sample bag. It looks like an evidence bag.
I was going to say, was it used in a murder?
It was found at the scene of a crime.
Is there a story behind your demonic fruitcake?
Exhibit A.
It was found in the victim's mouth.
Okay. The next thing in my box is a crystal ball. Ooh. Apparently, this was owned by the famous Gypsy Rose Lee. It was used in the 18th century to predict the futures of various people, and it is also rumoured to have been used by her to curse anybody who pissed her off. So that is exhibit number 2. Sam?
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because the next item I have is balls in a box.
Oh.
2 balls in a box.
They didn't happen to come. They didn't come from the Wizard of Oz by any chance, did they?
Possibly.
Do they belong to the Tin Man?
If the Tin Man is Japanese. So there we have a box of balls.
Right. Is there a story behind them?
No.
No.
I just bought the box. I'm not supposed to know what the story is.
Ain't nobody giving you an itinerary with your box on what's in it?
Eh?
Nobody's giving you an itinerary in your box of what everything is?
I don't know. I don't think there's a note inside.
Right, okay. Julie, your next one?
Okay. We have, let me see. We have some,
Desmond control spray.
Demon spray. And this will come in handy a little later on, which you guys, stay tuned. This will come in handy.
Okay.
We'll keep that close by.
That's pretty good, actually.
My next one is an Athame, owned by the famous witch Agnes Nutter from Pendle Hill fame. It is rumoured that she used this in all her rituals, and it is also claimed that she carved out the hearts of her victims with it.
Oh dear.
So, quite an interesting knife. Sam?
This is getting weird. This is getting very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second.
I'm freaking out, right? Jeez.
I'm lost in here.
The box is a magical box. It's a lot deeper than we think.
Yeah, it's going to fall in. It has a plastic hilt.
It's going to disappear. Like Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole.
As Crocodile Dundee says, that's a knife? Nah. Now this is a knife. It's made from real bone, guys.
Whose bone? Did they come out of a wall, did he?
I think somebody very sinister used to butter their bread with this.
Right.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put in the comments whose knife was the best. That was 2 in a row where you had the crystal ball, I had the ball, and we both have knives.
Yep. Right, Julie.
I'm making a ball to this.
Okay. I have something to follow that up with. Here's my knife, or you could say nail file, which belonged to the Manson family and was used in many sinister acts.
What was it used for? Stabbing leprechauns. What sort of sinister acts are we talking here?
Well, before they were allowed to have a real knife, they had to joust and, put in their practice with something a little less sinister. So,
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, this next one is a little bit creepier. It is 100%. I don't know if it's going to focus on it. Genuine demon skin. Now, I know it's 100% genuine because I peeled it off my mother myself. It is 100% demon skin. Come off one of the most evil demons ever known to man.
Hello, Brett's mum in the chat.
So that is the next one. There is also a matching piece. I got that off her other arse cheek.
Oh.
So that's my next item. 100% genuine demon skin. Sam?
Thanks for the mental picture you just put in our heads now.
It's gonna.
Oh,
It's your turn, Sam.
Julie had a weird doll.
Oh, God.
Funny enough, Brett's going to love this. I actually don't like this myself.
Please don't tell me it's that Robert doll. Ugh.
Oh! It's possessed. It's speaking Hebrew.
I hope it ain't going to start talking in Spanish in a minute.
Its head's going to start spinning around.
That's really possessed, Sam. I could see it moving.
Oh.
Julie, your next item.
The dog's afraid of it. Shut up. It won't go off. Stop. Shut up. Thank you.
At least it listens.
It is speaking in tongues, Pat.
That thing gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Next, we have a cup from the 17th century, used in many blood sacrifices.
Well, you're sounding like David Attenborough.
In very good condition for its age.
Right, my next one. This is the preserved skull of my ex-mother-in-law. Expertly done by the Mythic Mint for me. They shrunk it down in an eating thing, and then they covered her in pewter and stuck a few glittering eyes in. And to be honest with you, it's the best I've ever seen her. So that's, yep, the preserved shrunken skull of my ex-mother-in-law. There you go.
Is that why they put the snake on her forehead?
Yeah. Now, she's always had that in real life. That was a tongue. Sam?
Okay.
I've got one item left. I've saved it till last because this is the scariest one I've got.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
It's gone horribly wrong, guys.
Uh-oh.
It's gone very badly wrong, guys. You're going to need to help me out with this one.
Okay. Oh, no, Sam. No. Don't know whether to laugh or cry.
I don't know what to say about this. Possibly the mask is cursed or something, and I've just cursed myself, so...
Oh, Sam.
And I didn't think about that until I put it on my face. Did you ever see that film, The Mask?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm screwed.
Oh.
This is not a good look for me.
Oh, Sam.
It looks like the cursed version of Marlene Dietrich.
That's not your last one, is it, Sam?
No.
Okay, good. I've got this one for Sam. This is some genuine holy water from Vatican City. So we can share some of this with Sam.
So does that mean you're spraying priest pee all over your house then?
I think so.
Right, now for my final one, this is a really good one. I have kept this. This, folks, was sent to me from Julie in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I've kept it in a glass case, and a priest has come and handled it at least once a week to stop the curses on it. It is actually a chew toy of a genuine hellhound, and Julie sent me this last week. You know, I don't know where she got it from, but it's been really scary having it in the house. It is 8 inches of pure evil. It is rumoured to make a buzzing noise when it is summoning its canine master.
Goodbye monetization.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You've sealed the deal there.
Brett, I have a question.
Go on.
Does it have an aroma to it? Can you smell it for it?
Oh, God.
Smells of rubber.
This has gone badly wrong.
It smells just like a doggy Kong, Julie.
Oh,
Sam?
Guys, we've got.
And I do appreciate the gift, Julie. Thank you.
No problem. Anytime.
We got an old-fashioned recorder, guys.
Oh.
This is going to be interesting.
Is there any recordings on it?
I don't know. I'm going to check now. It's got one of those tiny tapes.
Oh,
looks like an answering machine. Oh, I've got the smell of rubber.
Maybe they left a message on it. Will I play it?
Yeah, go on, play it.
By the way, people outside the UK and Ireland may not understand this, but I'll explain it in a minute.
Okay.
What's up, guys? I'm John. I'm Edward. Here we are. Shedward. We're so excited to hear on YouTube. YouTube totally rocks. We love making all our amazing music videos. It's so awesome. You guys are so cool, okay? We love you guys so much for always checking our videos on Shedward TV, okay? And think about it, okay? You guys have got everyone our videos. And guess what? We got exclusive news for you guys, okay? Our new album, Victory, okay, is out now, okay? So everyone, every single person watching us, okay, go buy it, okay? And tell all your friends, every single person you know about our new album, Shedward Victory. What up, guys? I'm John, and I'm Edward. Here we are, Shedward, and our brand new album, Victory, is out now. And most importantly, whatever you want. High five, John.
That has got to be the scariest recording I've ever heard in my life.
Jedward.
Oh no, that's not
Right.
good. That's
Julie, have you got
scary.
anything? It is scary. Have you got anything left?
I do, yes. So my last item inside is this little box right here. So as you can see, oh, scary.
What's that dribbling down the front of it?
It's sealed with wax.
Oh.
I was going to do that actually.
And there is demon on the front of it. This, guys, right here is a trapped demon inside of a box. So we're going to attempt to open it any moment now. Oh, whoa! There's a big
Gee.
some kind of a bone inside with it.
That priest made a mess all over your chest.
There's a... That's the demon. Ooh, Desmond.
Desmond.
Oop, and there's a little bit of hair as well. There we go. Demonic fur.
Oh, God. Sam, you got anything left?
I got 5 pairs of black socks. They could be priest socks. To say priest socks is blacker than ordinary people's socks.
Oh, crap.
I'm happy with those. I needed socks.
Satan specials in black.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No,
Nope.
I've used all mine in my box, and Julie's still busy brushing hers off as well.
There's a gun in here, guys.
Let's have a look.
We're going to have to call the police. And it's a revolver.
Pat wants
And
to
it's
know if you're
loaded
sure
with-
the socks ain't very, very dark blue.
Yeah. And it's loaded, guys. I think we're
You-
going to have to call the police. I'm after scared the dog. This dog is scared. Every time I pick up... Not that I'm a habit of picking up guns, but... yeah, I think I'll have to call the police after the show.
Okey coke. Anything
Right,
else in there, Sam?
Oh. A witch's hat.
You look like Professor Sprout. Do you want to borrow my philosopher's stone?
She needs the mask as well as the hat.
I'm going to be too embarrassed to watch this back.
Pat says that's where her rat went.
Even scarier still. Now, I got this from the dark web. I got a takeaway menu from a Chinese takeaway that's next door. So that means they know where I live.
Uh-oh.
Good job of the gun. So I'm going to need that. What else have I got? Bono's sunglasses.
Really?
Bonos. Oh, Sam.
Now as Witch in the Hood.
We really made a balls of making this scary, didn't we? I'm definitely not going to make an actor.
No, me either.
We leave that to the fakers.
So there you
Yeah.
go, folks. That was our take on really weird and strange claims within the paranormal. So now we can get back to our normal routine of actually talking about genuine paranormal. Anything interested with either of you two this week?
I don't think so. I always hear little squeaks and see things out of the corner of my eye and stuff, but nothing too bad.
Have you been on any investigations this week?
No, not this week. The kids actually went back to school here this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been busy doing that, and they're going on camp soon. So I've just been busy doing mum stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sam?
A couple of nights ago, a couple of nights ago, I done a kind of test run with an IR, a night vision rifle scope light, to try. You know, when I go out to do night vision surveillance and stuff, I can. If I'm in a forest, the light bounces off the trees and that. But when you're on the beach, you just get a kind of a semicircle of the beach in front of you and nothing else. So I was trying out that. So that's about it. The weather hasn't been that great, you know.
Yeah.
So we've had a bit of rain here today, but it's been fairly dry, just cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the weather improves in the next couple of days, we'll try something new. We'll try to get to a new sort of location and that. But it was one of those things. I was on the way home from Rachel's house, and I decided I'd just give it a go. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think, Sam, that IR is going to work in terms of say if people start using infrared scopes and stuff for ghost hunting? You know, mate, I know they use IR cameras and stuff. If we think they are energy, do you think it's possible that's why things are often caught on camera and not actually seen with the eyes, because the cameras are actually picking up light frequencies that human eyes themselves down, like bumblebees see in the ultraviolet spectrum, so that they see things like there's patterns on flowers and stuff like that that lead the bees in towards the center for the pollen. Do you think it's possible that things that people are reporting as ghosts could actually be appearing in things like the IR spectrum or the UV spectrum?
It's difficult to know, because some people actually see things with their naked eye. But then again, do they see it with their naked eye, or is it downloaded directly to the brain, sort of thing? And that's it's a kind of it's a difficult one. Between IR and ordinary light, I don't know if it's going to make any difference. The reason why I use IR is because I use less bright white light, which means I don't draw attention to myself. I mean, like, there's been experiments, and there is a camera on trial that sees energy.
Yeah.
And it was a number of years ago, but at the time, this camera was the size of a bus.
Yeah.
So I haven't followed up on that or anything like that. But I don't know. It's very, very difficult to categorically, boil down is ordinary cameras, full spectrum, or night vision. you know, is one better than the other? I just don't know. You know.
Yeah. Julie, what's your opinion on that? Do you think there could possibly be things appearing in the UV and the IR spectrums that we're not actually seeing directly with our eyes?
I think that, in my opinion, it hasn't been explored anywhere near enough. I think that it hasn't been touched on enough, and I think there is a possibility there that you could see more than we are seeing. From what I've seen, when people have used ultraviolet or other kinds of lights, they have picked up things that you can't see with a normal camera or normal vision or whatever you want to say. So yeah, I think it definitely needs exploring. The problem is a lot of the little UV torches and things that you get these days don't have the battery capacity to power them long enough. So I think that they need to advance that technology as well. Yeah.
See, because we do see a lot of IR usage in the hobby now in terms of cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we don't actually see very much UV.
Yeah.
Being used, you know, which is the opposite end of the light spectrum, so to speak.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've got it here with Yowie because Yowie needs it as a tube. And I was looking at the tube the other day, and I thought, you know, I wonder if somebody rigged up a UV tube like that was portable and took it to somewhere that was possibly known to be. Ow, that's my toe. Sorry, Kaya's just bit my toe.
That's all right.
You know, that is known to have a lot of activity and set it up. And then, you know, would we maybe start seeing more things occurring? Would we see less things occurring? Or could it even start triggering entirely different types of phenomenon to what usually goes on there? You know, it is an interesting subject, as light itself is energy, you know, and a lot of us believe that paranormal activity as a result of energy. Could it be used like people used to use, like, say, the EMF pumps? Would it be possible to start using UV light as a kind of booster, so to speak? Like, you know, because at one point EMF pumps were very common, you know, and in a lot of use, because there was a couple of years ago, there was a big belief that EMF was the main factor in paranormal occurrences. So they went on the belief if you pumped enough EMF energy into the air, they could somehow absorb it and use it. Now I'm wondering, could we possibly do that with alternate energy sources like UV light for a start off? Or, you know, even the IR produced by a camera, even though it's not much, could it be that people are getting a lot of reports and sightings on IR equipment because it's actually drawing off the IR like people believed it was happening with EMF pumps? Sam?
I have an UV torch, and I actually used it in the Cooney and Ghost House. And there's certain colours where it just brightens up.
Yeah.
And there was spray paint on the wall, and some of it just happened to be a certain type of paint, and it just the reflection of it was something else, you know. Somebody is there saying flare. You know, that's the heat, the thermal cameras.
Yeah.
You know, thermal is okay, but you know, I spent £310 on my Seek thermal reveal, and even the fire brigade, they make a similar device for the fire brigade. You know, I have the blue one, they have a red one. It just goes up to hotter temperatures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that is still even limited. You're talking £1,000 to £2,000 to get good thermal. And you know, I didn't look through paranormal circles to look around the possibilities. I looked on hunting channels and military channels and stuff like that with the the Gen 2 night vision and the thermal technology that the US military were using, and all about that surveillance and that. And that's why I've gone into surveillance an awful lot more. It's not conventional ghost hunting, and I think people are not getting it, but the camera to me is one of the most important things. I bought all the equipment I can buy. Yes, when you're mobile and you have to try and cover a wide area, you don't want too much with you.
No.
You don't want to be carrying too much and in the dark going through a bag full of stuff.
Yeah.
That's why to me.
Sorry.
That's why to me, putting eyes on the thing, the military style, look through every corner, cover the whole area, do a whole sweep, like a search party and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like take out a spurt box and do a bit of ITC here and there and that, but most of it, the last little while, it's been all about surveillance, watching out for something.
Yeah.
Something unusual, like.
Kel said that's actually quite interesting. They'd like to experiment with lights a bit more. It's something I was thinking about doing, because now I've got Yowie and using UV lights a lot more. I was sitting by tank the other day and I was thinking about it. We use IR a lot in the paranormal, but we don't use UV as much. The opposite end of the spectrum. So it would be interesting to try experiments like that where we flood an area with UV to see, if there is more phenomena occurring or if there's less. Could lights, different things we do be having the opposite effect and actually lowering activity rather than raising it. Jackie says the laundry lady at work was putting linen away. Door was open. The resident beside was in bed. She turned away, looked back. The door had shut. When she inquired, she had died in the night and picked up by the mortician. That's quite creepy. Would you think that would be more of a residual thing? As the body dies and it releases whatever, the soul is energy wise. Could that be the, part of the energy as the soul parts from the body, for want of a better term, leaves that energy behind as a what's it? Because it is quite interesting. There are a lot of cases where people do actually report people who have died like peacefully in bed, and then they've been seen lying in bed and stuff, a couple of hours later. Is it like a type of temporary stone tape theory where they've left behind some kind of imprint and then, it appears before it wears off, sort of thing?
I actually had a conversation with someone on one of their videos the other day. They'd done a video where it was like an old fort on the edge of the sea, where soldiers were to watch for invading people, and a lot of stuff coming through the spirit box was to do with the time they were there and the war and keeping a lookout and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, from what responses were coming through the box, it sounded exactly like residual energy.
Yeah.
Because they weren't actually talking to the communicator. They were just talking about what was going on at that time. Yeah.
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 Carl says we also don't know how light affects them or damages them, maybe. This is the thing, Carl. We don't, because it is such an unexplored field and we're just poking around in the dark, for want of a better term, trying to discover things. We don't know what is working and what isn't. For all we know, using electronic equipment could have a detrimental effect on getting any kind of evidence. It could, or it could go the other way, and it could, heighten things. We don't know the type of energies we're using, how they affect on what is actually appearing.
Yeah, I mean, like the way I look at the paranormal field, and ghost hunting, basically we're doing science work without the science degree.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be a lot of stabbing in the dark, basically.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I mean, like, we need more scientists in the field. We need those professional people, those experts in their own fields. You know, like the photographers, the
Yeah.
videographers, the sound people, the sound engineers, and scientists. You know, and you know, because you know, ghost hunting is a science. I know the science community laugh at us,
Mhm.
but we're trying our best with what we got. Do you know?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and the question is, do you know the ghost hunting equipment that is trending because of these shows? You know, are they just toys? Are they good enough to be actually? You know, you
Welcome
bring
back,
out a piece
Stego,
of
by the way.
equipment.
Yeah, go on. Sorry,
You
Sam.
bring out you bring out a piece of equipment, and you get a response on a REM pod. But what do you do with that information?
Yeah.
Where can you bring it further? Do you
Yeah.
know?
Parasolar says, "What do you guys feel about using EMF generators?" Personally, myself, I've never used them for a number of reasons. One, I EMF. You know, I'm a migraine sufferer, and I tend to find if I'm anywhere near IEMF, I start to get migraines. So, you know, I don't do them for that. The other thing that I'm wary about with EMF pumps is it is scientifically proven that if you put the human brain into an area where there is high EMF, it has physiological effects on the brain, including things like seeing things, for want of a better word. You know, yeah, it starts to fool the brain into seeing things that aren't there. So for me, I find that they are probably more a corrupter than an helper, and we don't actually know if EMF is directly linked to spirits or not. You know, I know everybody's got K2 meters. I've got one myself, and you know we use them, but most people now tend to use them as a communication device more so than as the job they were originally intended for, which was detecting EMF fields. You know, so they tend to be used as a questioning device to get responses, which I presume, you know, if they can interact with physical objects, they can probably interact with energy fields as well. So for me personally, I don't see a use of them, but I've got no problems with people who want to use them if they think that they benefit their own investigations. Julie?
Yeah, I think I was just sitting here through the whole conversation we were just having, and I'm thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard of a place where someone's gone in and they bought a property or had a property they had access to and used it for, say, a 12-month period and just set up experiments, set up your UV lights and set up whatever other equipment and just monitor it for 12 months. You
Mm-hmm.
see so many people walking into a building, and you know, we do it too. You go in for a couple of hours or something and that's it, you leave. And you know what it's like. Sometimes you walk in and most
Mm-hmm.
of the time you get absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a massive margin there to explore. K2 meter, I don't really use it anymore. For me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
think people need to be aware of how many false positives you can get with it and how many things can affect it. And for that reason, I don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a good tool to use if you know how to use it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam?
Julie brought up a good point there about, you know, the length of time that a person investigates a house. Now, a paranormal investigator will go back to a certain location, and they might have 4 or 5 hours. They'll do that 4 or 5 hours, but that's not an investigation. It is an investigation on YouTube, but it's not an investigation.
Yeah.
You keep going back there and compile all the information that you've got. Over a long period of time, and you go different times of the day, nighttime, etc. Now, she brought up this prolonged 12 months investigation. Now, there is items in this house with some, questionable stories, let's say. Some, dolls that I had to remove from business premises because it was freaking out the staff and stuff. And one person in particular reckoned that one of the dolls was haunted and that. So I'm in the process of gathering up those dolls, putting them in the attic and rigging the attic with a CCTV camera.
Yep.
And I won't be polluting the environment at all because I won't be there.
Yeah. That's gonna be a really interesting experiment, because like you say, that's going to be long term and there's going to be no interference with it as such. So it will be I know it's going to be boring going through all the footage, but that is going to be interesting long term, especially if you do get things like arms or legs moving or heads turning, or even if it's over a prolonged period of time. It's still an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
Carl says people like to use white noise, but how many times do we hear spirits telling people to turn it off? Maybe it is abrasive to their energy field. Well, if we're dealing with, personally, what I think, if we are dealing with dead people in some cases, I presume they're going to be irritated by the same things they were in real life. And there's very few people who actually enjoy the sound of white noise. It's something I've got used to because of, being in this hobby, and you tend to use it a lot. But you play white noise to the majority of people, they don't find it enjoyable.
Yeah.
White noise is used as a carrier for EVPs.
Yeah.
And I mean, like in the old days with the direct radio voice, white noise was used.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the tone of it, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah. Jackie says she thinks that EVPs do amp up the activity. Seago says, "Are we all just over here in Jedward again then? I might need cancelling and I'll send you the bill, Brett." That's okay. I'll forward it on to Sam.
the two singing paintbrushes.
Mm-hmm. Jackie says, "Sometimes the best tool is talc powder on the floor or cat balls." Talc, yes, I can agree with. Cat balls, not so much so, Jack, because they are something that, one, are very prone to malfunction on their own, and two, they can very easily be faked because they basically work by, I think, from what I can remember, it's like a little spring inside the ball, and when it detects vibration, it wobbles and causes the light. If you're say somewhere outside on soft ground, you could put a cat ball down, you could stamp your foot off camera. Nobody will actually hear it, but those vibrations will pass through the ground enough to reach that ball and trigger the spring to wobble. So, if you want it, for me personally, if you want as foolproof as possible, you would have to go back to old school methods, like things like talcum powder and candles and trigger objects and stuff like that. The electronics do actually introduce an element of doubt, without a doubt.
The cat balls, I found them very interesting, but the problem is they're mass produced on a very big scale, and
and cheaply.
Are they going to be? I mean, like, in order to use some equipment, sometimes I open it up and find out what's in it. And I actually did break open a few of the cat balls, and there is there is a spring that is very, very close to a connection on the circuit board.
Yeah.
And that vibration would make that spring touch, and it's like a switch. But, you know, with that mass production, how much is the margin for error there? That's why that's why we're saying, sometimes some cheap equipment may not be the best thing in the world for it,
Yeah. What's your opinion on cat balls, Julie?
I think of the same thing. I think I've used them myself, and I think that there's too much of an error with them.
Yeah.
I myself, had once.
You're still getting the priest off your face.
Yeah, I am. I've used them before, and they'll be going off, and they go off on such a timer that you can sit there and go, "Oh, are you a male?" And it'll flash. "Did you work in the army?" It'll flash. So it can give the illusion that something is answering your questions. You turn it off and back on, and it doesn't go off again. Now, it could be that like spirit's there, and they've decided not to touch it because you've just fooled around with it. But I would doubt it very much. That's what I always tell people. If it's going off continually like that, turn it off and back on, because it could just be that spring or something is touching and making that continually go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't realise you're surrounded by vibrations. Even sometimes when I'm sitting here, because my living room is literally right on the pavement. I've got no front garden. I live in a terraced house. It is literally right on the pavement. So I've got like 5 foot of pavement and then the road. When cars come past here, especially if they're like bigger cars, vans and lorries, I can actually feel the vibration in the floor.
Yeah.
And you don't realise how much vibration is passing through. That is why I'm always very wary over things like those cat balls, because they're not calibrated or designed to work the way they're being used. Do you mind? Thank you.
Very YouTube tool.
Yeah, they are very YouTubey. Not to say they can't work or don't work, but you've got, like with any other piece of equipment you're using, you've got to keep a grip a bit on realism and know, you've got to know the failings of your stuff, and not take every single indication on any piece of equipment as positive proof. You've got to sit there and question everything. Was there a car coming past? Did somebody suddenly move close to it, and put vibration through the ground? There is so many different types of things you've got to take into consideration.
You can get very sensitive vibration meters apps on your phone. And say if you wanted to, if you haven't got an EMI, the EMI, it's got a number of things in the one box. It's got the EMF sensor, it's got the vibration, and it's got temperature. But and they're very expensive. But there is other little things like these. They're like plasma balls, but they're plasma discs.
Yeah,
and you can set them. You can set them to vibrate and that, but it's actually picking up the vibration of our voices going through the air as well,
Yeah.
If possible, if you're using the cat balls, back it up with possibly an app on your phone.
Yeah.
To see will the app respond the same way as the cat balls, or possibly get one of these, maybe,
Yeah. Seagull says he was about to say EMF can have negative effects on us too. EMF can have some serious effects on the human brain, believe it or not. A lot more negative than positive. Three Soul says, I'm really loving the K2 meter and REM pod. Well, they are all favourites, and we've all used them, all still use them. Parasolo says, damn good point. Rose says, I've stopped using stuff that lights up like Blackpool in my house. DW says, I've seen moving areas of IEMF that are only in the centre of the room. I've been in places where, you know, you've got an EMF field that you can't actually explain. I can't say I've ever really got one that's moved around. But again, with EMF, the only way to be 100% sure is you've got to get land survey maps and everything. Because if there ain't electricity cables running above your head, there's a damn good chance there's electricity cables running underneath your feet. A very good example of that is back where I live. There's a place called Kimber Edge, and there's sandstone cave. They're houses. They're basically houses carved into the sandstone rock. And there's been a couple of investigations there where people have used EMF meters and REM pods, and they're going, you know, and they get to a certain area and they go, no, we're getting readings. That area is absolutely riddled with cables because of the distinctive nature of the area. They didn't want overhead cables going into the cave houses, so they actually ran all the cabling underground to feed the houses, you know. And what a lot of these EMF meters were picking up was actually and you know, they're only 4 or 5 feet under the ground. And when they're pushing a domestic power supply through those cables, they generate massive EMF fields, believe it or not. Jackie says, fair enough, but I don't get affected watching over the computer and I see and hear stuff. Rose says, I do as much as I can at her home. Kel says, totally agrees. Seago says, true, it's difficult to establish what's an anomaly against what might be a regular affectation of any given location when you're only there for one night. And this is the problem we have as investigators, and particularly as YouTubers. You know, if you were going to do a serious investigation of a place, it would have to happen over a minimum, I would say, of 6 months of constant monitoring the place. And for your average YouTuber, unless they're doing investigations, unless you're lucky enough to live in an haunted house or an house with activity, that is not really going to be an opportunity you're going to get very often.
Yeah.
So you literally do. All we do is get literally a very small slice of the timeline of an haunted area, and because the occurrences are that rare anyway, you're taking such a small slice out of it. It's 9 times out of 10. This is why you're never going to get nothing, and this is why I always say, if you're watching channels where they are putting out evidence every single week to everywhere they go, you do have to question: are they misinterpreting things? Are they deliberately making things happen, or are they just that desperate to keep content interesting that they are willing to accept stuff even if they've got doubts?
Yeah.
Good
The way I look at the YouTube going out once a week, like I'm doing, and that, and having the camera going to as many areas as possible and stuff like that. If I get 1 or 2 things in 1 or 2 years, and that's a result. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the realistic part of it, you may get small things, but there may be questions about it. Just like the graveyard where my photographer was sitting on the steps, and there looks like there's a figure walking into the church.
Yeah.
It still has questions around it. You know what I mean? It's not that concrete to me. It's not concrete enough. Yes, we'll possibly bring it to a videographer and give them the footage and somewhere down the line, I don't know, somebody, in the video industry. I do know somebody in the audio industry, but not in the video industry. Possibly a professional photographer, let them have a say on it and see. But the information's gathered. I can look back on that at any time and give it to any person to get their take on it. Eventually, we might get an answer, we may not. But if you're collecting data, people are expecting results there and then.
Yeah.
But it may be a couple of years down the line before you get the results.
Yeah.
Now, the last 20 years, we've had a massive boost in our technology, in everything, video, everything, computers. Our technology has taken off massively in the last 20 years. Could you imagine the next 20 years?
Yeah.
Now, the technology in the next 20 years may be helpful in the data that you have collected the 20 years prior. Where the technology just wasn't good enough to get that definitive answer to what you want.
This is what I've said before. I think things like VR will start to come into play in the hobby and stuff like that. Lockbeard says, true man of science, Ken Wheeler, explained metaphysics, field theory, etc., and destroyed quantum physics cult. No magic required to understand spirits. He says spark gap generators remove ghosts. Gotta be honest, Lockbeard, I can't agree with that statement at all. And I'll tell you why. Because there isn't a scientist on the planet who has scientifically proven one way or the other, first, if ghosts exist, and secondly, what they consist of. So there is absolutely no way there is a scientist out there now who can say with any certainty that spark gap generators remove ghosts, because to state that, he would have to know the nature of spirits, and mainstream science haven't proven that one way or the other, and in fact, majority of them aren't even interested in the topic. So for me, I can't agree with that statement at all.
Yeah,
Sam?
Funny you're going. When you say that, a lot of people on YouTube and the social medias believe that spirits are made up of energy, and they will say that rather than say, I think that spirits are made from this or that or whatever. And there's a lot of misinformation with nothing backing it up. You know what my beliefs in a certain guy that does ITC, he pretends he does ITC, and he makes all these kind of claims that he can talk to dogs, celebrities, and stuff like that. In the 10 or 12 years that he's been doing it, he hasn't brought forward one solid bit of evidence that backs up those claims. The claims are coming through with a lot of people, but there's nothing to tell you.
There's no solid evidence.
If you're going to make a definite, bring something to the table that backs that up. And that's very often where a lot of these theories fall apart, because there's nothing backing that up. They're just talking out of their backsides to get attention. Oh, look at me, I'm so brilliant. I can talk to this, I can communicate with. There's nothing backing it up. And like I says, one of these guys has been doing it over 10 years with nothing that he says he can 100% prove, and he's proof, never seen anything brought to the table at all, and he won't communicate with anybody else. That means there's something wrong. But that one person isn't the only one. There's a lot of people that make these claims but don't back it up with hard evidence.
Julie, what's your opinion on that comment?
I think it comes kind of back into what I said before about us not having enough research and evidence into you know, the spirits and things like that, as Sam kind of touched on, if we knew what spirits were made up of or composed of, then you may find a way that you could expel spirits or get rid of them or whatever else. But
see,
yeah.
that term in itself, spirits, and we all use it.
Mhm.
You know, are we even accurately describing what they are? Are they spirits?
I say spirits sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes
everybody
I say
does.
entities.
Everybody does. You know,
Yeah.
but we all default to the term spirit, but we've got absolutely no proof at all that they are spirits.
No, it could be
None
anything.
whatsoever. They could be anything.
Yep.
Yeah. I think what gets caught up in the mix that complicates things is faith and belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and we all go through loss.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to think that our past loved ones, our past friends, are in a certain place, and sometimes we try to picture that in our mind. But we're probably miles away from the actual fact of what happens to a person's energy after it leaves the body. We're throwing around theories there, and yes, we have our faith. I don't want to put down anybody's faith, but the Bible is not a scientific document.
Yeah.
By any means,
Yeah. Parasaurus says, I love white noise. Me too, Para. What were you going to say, Julie? Sorry.
I was just going to say, think of it this way, right? And I always love to think outside the box. If you were in the spirit realm or wherever this other side is, okay? Something, yeah. And you were lonely, or you wanted someone to talk to, and someone came through this device where you could magically speak to them, and they're like asking you questions or whatever, you're gonna talk to them. Oh, are you such and such? Because I want to talk to such and such. Oh yeah, I'm such and such. How do you know you're talking to a specific person or entity? Because they say that that's what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Kel says sometimes the old simple ways are the best. Totally agree with that, Kel.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah. When it comes to communication and getting that information, the technology just isn't there.
Yeah.
Yes, we would love to be able to have a communication device where we can have a conversation like we're having a conversation now. And to be honest with you, when it comes to hacked radio, spirit box, whatever, if you get 5 or 6 or 7 words in a sentence, you've hit a jackpot there. Because very often what we seem to be doing is putting together a few words.
Yeah.
Yet in order to move forward with that, we have to understand what is happening with that method. We don't even understand that method yet.
Yeah.
Even though some people say it's old-fashioned and all the rest of it, it still works. But we actually don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
And if we could get some sort of an understanding of how it works, then we can get rid of the things that is not needed in the communication and keep what's good for the communication and possibly get longer communication. But we're still not there. People say should we abandon the spirit box? We can't, because we've only touched a tiny percentage of what it can do and how it can do it. And we have to understand more in order to sort of move forward.
Rose says cat balls never work for her. Seago says, I often wonder about REM pods too. Are they able to be set off by bugs or wind, or can they be calibrated to ignore wildlife, natural interference? REM pod SEGO are basically exactly the same as K2 meters. What they are reading is actually EMF fields, or they're actually reading a break in an EMF field. So I suppose if you get a big enough bug that flies close enough to a REM pod, it could break the field and trigger it. But the only way you'd actually calibrate them against things like that is you'd have to make a very desensitized one, and then you'd have to ask yourself if it would ever work at all. Then, you know, would you need an elephant to be standing next to it before it recorded the break?
Yeah, I brought that buried thing up with Rachel when we were out on an investigation one night.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I have a tiny little REM pod. I might be able to put it in a controlled environment with a few insects and see what happens, because I want to know myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hang on. Where's my next one? Lockbeard says, but of course, I figure most people who get a high off of ghosts don't want to hear the real scientific explanation for metaphysical things because they want a magical world. Humanity is doomed.
YouTube.
What was that, Julie?
I said YouTube.
The thing is, like I say, science hasn't proven it one way or the other yet. So until they actually do, you know, we can't really comment on that. You're always going to get people who believe everything that they witness is paranormal, even when it ain't. And I always say to people, 99.9% of what you think you've experienced has a normal explanation. It's that 0.1% that you're looking for where there isn't none. But, you know, the very definition of metaphysical takes it into the area of science that is not actually proven one way or the other at the moment.
It's very strange that there's a growing paranormal community here on YouTube, but nobody seems to be interested in the scientific paranormal studies that are on YouTube. They don't get views. They don't get attention. You know, people like Annabella Cardoso that's been doing ITC for 40 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even know who she is. You know? She's one of the last surviving old school spirit communicators.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? You know,
sorry, Sam.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say very quickly for people watching, if you go back to the very definition of paranormal, it is you look at every possible explanation. And if there is no possible explanation for what you've experienced, then you classify it as paranormal.
Yeah. See, this is the problem we've got at the moment, and you know, and the very nature of YouTube. I can understand why it happens, but the majority of people look for the paranormal explanation first.
Yeah,
you should be looking for the natural explanations long before you even consider the paranormal ones. Lockbeard says yes, I'm out. So, you know, he's obviously left the channel. In my response to that, you know, he put a point forward. I basically said, you know, until what you've said cannot be true because, you know, it's just my opinion, and he's left the channel. So
you got to keep an open mind.
Exactly. And you know, that's a perfect example of why things happen the way they do. Kel says can't bet on first class interaction overnight. I agree. Kel, there are places you could, you know, that are supposedly well known for being haunted. You could go to them for 12 months and not get any activity from them. Then you could turn up one night and it be non-stop. There is no guarantees in this hobby at all. None whatsoever in this field.
Yep.
There's the tricky side of the paranormal where audio and visual, phenomenon doesn't come into it. It's the feelings and the effects on the human body, which we can't show to people, and maybe in the future there will be computerized equipment that could monitor that, more closely, sort of thing, because sometimes you go into a place, you can tell people, I'm feeling static in this corner or wherever. You can only tell them. You can't.
Yeah, you can't show it. Yeah.
Yeah, there is these other phenomenons that you can't explain, just like The Rock. We seen the after effects of The Rock, the area that we went to, where Rachel was shaking and stuff like that. Rachel doesn't bullshit, like, and the way she was holding the camera and it was shaking and stuff like that. I can only, I showed it to you on camera, and she could tell the story, but we need something to monitor that, which we don't exactly have, and that's why science has an important role to play in that. But then again, monitoring that, where do you go from there?
It's it's like when talking about that. It's like when you see people sometimes and they go, "Oh, I can sense an atmosphere here. It's made the hairs on my arm stand up." That is not necessarily an external physical thing. That is actually a physiological thing that your body does, to certain stimulus, fear being one of them.
Yeah.
So the only way you can really monitor anything like that is if you're walking around with an ECG on your head, and they can see our brain waves are being altered and moved around and stuff like that. But even then, you would need an expert in reading ECGs.
Yeah.
You've always got to be aware of, just because you're getting a physical reaction, it doesn't necessarily mean it's an external reaction. It could be your own body doing it to you as a result of your mind convincing your body of certain things.
Yeah. We're talking pretty deep tonight, but there is other people on YouTube that go out once a week, and it's defining of the word ghost hunting, dissimilar to me going out and doing some surveillance. The aim is to capture something on camera or capture something on audio. And that's and that's their aim. Capture something on camera or to capture something on audio. And then don't really want to go further than that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's okay, because we're not scientists.
Exactly.
But there is some of us that would like to understand things a lot more, and wish we had the scientific understanding of, or the scientific qualifications to understand a lot more,
Seagull says, I was talking about the insanity of tech advancing in the last 10 years, literally yesterday. Yeah, I had another one. When I was saying last week about certain things, I think about certain people or what's it. I had another one of them happen to me today, Julie, Sam. You've heard me talk about my friend Shell, who I moved up here to look after dogs, and she passed away with cancer.
Yep.
I was sitting here yesterday, and I just got thinking about her, and I don't know what prompted me to start thinking about her. I was just sitting on my computer reading a Bearded Dragon forum at the time, so I don't know what brought her to mind. And I put my Facebook on today, and one of my other friends had actually posted a picture of one of the dogs that Shell owned, that she's now got, and she'd posted to Shell on her Facebook page saying, "Look, Shell, my dog's, this is how JB's looking now, the dog." Now, nobody has mentioned Shell for 12 months on Facebook. She passed away 3 years ago. and I was lit, and that post was actually put on yesterday, and it only stuck up on my wall today. But another one of them weird coincidences where I actually saw a shell, and within 24 hours, somebody actually posted, a post to her Facebook page, even though she's passed on. She hasn't had access to a page and this person knows she's gone, but they were just putting up things saying, look, your dog's still happy, blah blah blah. This is what he's 11 and stuff now. And I just thought, Christ, that's another example of it. And I was literally just sitting there thinking about it yesterday, and it turned out that post was put on yesterday by another friend of mine, but it only popped up on my own page today to somebody who's been deceased for 3 years. Really freaky.
Wow.
Kel says, putting words into their mouths, almost pareidolia, being kind of forced into viewers' minds. It is, Kel. And this is what you've got to be very careful of as a paranormal channel, is that if you're a genuine paranormal channel, you do not want to, when you put your evidence out there, you don't put it out there as proof. You put it out there as example, and then challenge people to make their own minds up about it.
Yeah.
And that this is the difference between the different groups of paranormal channels on YouTube. You've got them who discuss things and then say, this is our opinion, make your own mind up. And then you've got those who will say, oh, I've just been attacked by a poltergeist. That's definitely what it was. So, it's all down to how you present your channel. Personally, I like to go with the former. You'll find the bigger channels are bigger channels because they go with the latter.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this since 2017, and I know it's only a short time, but it's long enough for me to say that I actually, on my channel, I don't have any definites. I don't have any 100%.
Yeah.
But that's okay, And I don't think, in most cases, there is very many of 100% concretes. There's you could have a piece of evidence and you'd think that's definitely something paranormal, and then a couple of years down the line, maybe your knowledge increases or your technology increases, and then it debunks the whole theory altogether, and you go, ah, damn. And I thought I got something, but I understand now.
Yeah. I've made that same mistake. Even recently, there was the railway video that I put up with a few other people. Now, there's one moment where I turn around and I say, if the train conductor's here, can he blow his whistle for me? And you hear a whistle. And we were far enough away from houses and that they wouldn't have been able to hear us talking.
Yeah.
But the whistle, each of us heard with our own ears. It wasn't paranormal.
Yeah.
It was just ironic timing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Seagull says, agreed. I don't think we have 100% answer either way until we get to the other, I'm going to sneeze, other side ourselves. And that is what I always say, Seagull. None of us is going to be 100%. I've got one of them tickly sneezes that ain't going to come.
Oh, I hate that.
Nobody is going to be 100% certain about whether we're communicating with spirits until we literally shuttle off our mortal coils.
Yeah.
And I will say, if I'm the first one to go of us three, I will do my damnedest, regardless of whether there's rules or not, to come back to the pair of you two and let you know.
Oh, I will too.
And give you some proof. And I would do it.
Yeah, I would.
And I've always said that, if there's rules and there's ways around them, I will break them and come back and give you the proof you need.
Yeah.
Let me scroll down a bit, the chat. Seagull says, okay. My understanding of what a REM pod is was totally wrong. Jackie says she finds REM pods can be annoying if used too much. Any piece of equipment can, Jackie. And this is another thing we've got to be of the trap that we've got to be careful of as paranormal investigations is not relying on a certain piece of equipment too much to the point where we 100% trust everything that comes out of it. You know, no matter how much you use, you know, any piece of equipment, be it a K2, you know, a video camera, a spirit box, you've always got to use it with the frame of mind that it could possibly not be doing what you think it's doing.
Yeah.
With a REM pod or a REM device, I've made a few REM devices, and
yeah, I've got two of them here. They're brilliant.
Yeah, they're proximity sensors, and you know, we've been making them from door handle alarms.
Mm-hmm.
Similar technology is used in. Do you know the sensors in the bumper of a car where your parking sensors? It's similar to that.
Yeah.
It produces a magnetic field around it, and when that magnetic field is broken in any way, or there's a change, it will trigger off the alarm. It's like conventional alarm technology, basically, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Jackie says she just let the dog in and missed something. Seagull says that's a big problem with science and attempted understanding of the paranormal. Scientists can be closed-minded in the sense that they don't like either being wrong or not knowing 100%. And this is the problem, Seagull. And this is why mainstream scientists are very loath to get involved in the paranormal. They either don't believe it at all, or they know it's such a minefield of and almost impossible to prove one way or the other, it could never stand up to scientific testing or the standard of scientific testing that mainstream science as we know it at the moment would require for it to become accepted knowledge.
Yeah. There is a bit of hope with advancement in technology because governments are getting interested in UFO phenomenon.
Yeah.
And some of those technologies and scanning technologies may be useful in ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
You know, everything that we've used, and even the ghost hunting devices and gadgets, they previously were a different purpose. They were a mainstream purpose. There was a main consumer market for the technology that was used.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you know, the EMF detectors, they're used by plumbers and electricians and stuff like that. REM pods, alarm technology, you know, and I mean, like, our everyday devices are changing all the time, and you know, sooner or later, some of that technology will end up being used again. But the thing is, you know, if governments are interested in getting to the bottom of UFO phenomenon and are trying to get to the bottom of it with technology, that technology may drift into what we are talking about here today with spirits and ghosts.
Let's jump down the rabbit hole, Lisa. Who's to say they ain't already at the bottom of it and know?
And have the technology to do so.
Yeah.
You know.
Seagull says that's a big problem with science and attempted understanding of the paranormal. Scientists can be closed-minded in the sense that, next one down. Which in a field that is barely understood, highly elusive, not based on an ability to always collect 100% accurate data, is an unfortunate disposition to start with in the paranormal, and Kelstorm says 100%. Yeah, the problem with mainstream science is for something to become accepted, I believe the definition is, or something along these lines, the proof of the theory has got to be 100% able to be demonstrated, repeatable. Your results have got to be repeatable for it to be proven to be accepted. And in this field, there's no way you can get a ghost to appear under exactly the same conditions and doing exactly the same things on demand. So that is one of the big problems, is they cannot reproduce anything that they discover. At the moment, the best we can do is make observations. We can't actually provide any evidence, repeatable evidence as such, unless somebody finds a way to develop a piece of equipment that actually makes ghosts appear on demand.
But the big question is, why would mainstream science want to look into ghosts and the paranormal? Because very often when they're working on something, there's a budget put into it. And when they do the work, they make money from it to pay for what they've spent. That budget isn't available in ghost research.
There's a simple answer to that, Sam, like was done with remote viewing and ESP and that kind of stuff. There are certain governments, yes, Kaya, who could actually see it as an avenue for being weaponized. Imagine if you had some way of controlling spirits and you could send them to your enemy to do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Imagine, say, for example, you could get a poltergeist to pop over to your enemy's bunkers and detonate all their nuclear arsenal on themselves. You see what I'm saying? Because there would be no way of stopping a ghost materializing in your button room and pressing that button. If there is a weapon, if there is a possible weaponization angle, then that is when governments will become interested.
That's exactly 100% true, because when it's a lot of this stuff and a lot of the technology that we use now, like night vision and thermal, came from the U.S. government, the U.S. military.
Yeah,
well, that's why
it's actually rumored that infrared night vision technology actually came from the Roswell crash. That is what is rumored, or that is one of the technologies that were apparently salvaged from the Roswell crash. Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Thing is, too, with night vision, you've got Gen 2 and Gen 3 in that, and you have to. Gen 3 is, don't know what it is today, but what I heard before is Gen 3 is classed as a kind of a weapon.
Right.
You have to have a license. You cannot take it out of the US. Now, don't quote me on it, but that's what I've heard. So, when it comes to military, it's all about secrets and that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something a little more advanced than what we know about.
Yeah.
There's always something being worked on.
Yeah. Well, there's rumors now that the government are actually working on things like sonic weapons, where that they've got. It is claimed they've got weapons now that they can fire a sonic beam at a group of troops and literally pulverize them with sound waves. Who's to know what governments and private organizations are currently dabbling and researching in, and who's to say a totally normal branch of what is accepted science now may develop something in the future that could in effect prove parts of the paranormal one way or the other. Not developed as a result of the paranormal, but a byproduct could be that whatever they develop could one way or another provide evidence for certain areas of the paranormal.
Yeah. I mean, like, I had been messing around with the app technology, the ghost app technology, you know, the sound banks and that, and making my own and not having words in it. And I messed around with frequencies, and the thing was, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just shooting in the dark here. And I mixed up a load of different frequencies, and next thing, vertigo set in, and I had to go to bed. I was sick for 2 flipping days, all because of frequency.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I barely got into my bed from listening to these mixture of frequencies. Frequencies can do strange things to the body.
Yeah.
That's why in horror films, you know, when you even if you're not fully sort of focused on it, you get this background noises. They're purposely fed in there to put fear into you while watching.
Yeah. The mind is a very powerful tool. It's the most powerful instrument we've got to work with, no doubt about it. And it can be influenced in very, very subtle ways. Like in the 50s, they were using a lot of and up until the 70s and 80s, I believe, they were using subliminal messaging in cinemas. And basically the way it worked was, while you were watching the film, they would flash up an image of a drink or an hot dog for a millisecond, but you know, and you never actually consciously registered it, but your brain did.
Yeah.
And then it starts off the thought of, you want to go and buy a hot dog or you want to go and buy a drink in the cinema. And that was used up until the 80s, I believe, as a legal form of advertising. Totally, you know, the public were unaware it was happening, but that's what was going on. But, you know, and that's how subtle it can be. Whereas literally an image beamed into your head in a millisecond can have that kind of effect on you without you even realizing it.
The music industry, if Seagull's still in the chat, the music industry uses similar audio kind of things, you know, a mood of a song. The frequencies are put in there to get you in that mood for that particular song. There's a lot of stuff.
Seago says, sorry for the essay, somewhat inspired by Lockbeat. It's totally fine, Seago. That, you know, that's what we're here for, is to have discussions. Everybody's got different opinions, and we love listening to everybody's. You know.
Exactly.
Kel says they follow the same narrative to climb the YT ladder to fame. Yeah, they do. They do. And now I've just lost my what's it. Let me go back. That's it, right? Okay. Jackie says, years ago, I read a book called The Way of the Weird about Catholics moving into the British Isles. They sent a priest in to test the waters. He had to believe in the pagan beliefs to survive. Yeah. Well, you know, that is how Christianity got a foothold in the UK and other, you know, and Europe as a whole. Was basically they integrated the pagan beliefs and systems and even their worship sites into Christianity. They deliberately built their churches on the sites of traditional pagan worship. That they brought the pagan deities into Christianity. The devil himself is based on a pagan deity. He's based on Pan, who, if you're pagan, would know that Pan isn't even, you know, wouldn't be classed as an evil entity anyway. In paganism, there weren't necessarily this polarizing good and evil. You know, all the different entities had the capacity to be nice, or they had the capacity to be naughty. It's only like Christianity and other modern mainline religions that have now brought in this opposing forces type of thing with, you know, absolute good and absolute evil.
Julie just tapped the side of her cup with a spoon. Now I want tea.
Yeah, no, I do as well. Jack says maybe this is where science is at now. For them to investigate UFO spirits and the paranormal, they will need to believe to get their proof. I do believe, Jack, in certain areas they already have the proof. You know, I believe that not only are the government aware of UFOs, the government know exactly what UFOs are. But that's just my personal belief. You know, I think if you were deep enough in government, you wouldn't have any doubts that UFOs are a genuine phenomenon. To be honest with you, Kel says they know that in the days of Beethoven, sounds to invoke certain feelings. Well, sound is actually being used in medical treatments now, in it, for all sorts of maladies and stuff. You know, because if you think about it, the brain is one giant. Well, you know, the vast majority of it, it's a water-based organ, and sound waves pass through water a lot better than they do through air.
I've seen a person who was blind that was walking through a forest and was doing similar sounds to a bat, was kind of clicking.
Yeah.
And she was explaining that the sound is reflecting off the trees, and she was able, because she was blind, her other senses, her hearing senses,
they compensate. Increased. Yeah, they enhance to compensate.
She was able to time when the sound would come back.
Yeah.
And that's how sort of ultrasound works. It sends a signal down and it reflects off something and comes back, and it's the distance. And that's calculated to tell us how far down a certain object is, you know?
IMNA, yeah. Parasolo says, wouldn't it be cool if extraterrestrials had technology to have access into the paranormal and shared their knowledge to us on how to contact the spirit world? Wishful thinking, lol. Maybe not. You know, because if you think about it, if there are civilizations out there that have got the technology, you know, to travel the vastness of space, and we're talking, you know, phenomenal distances here that could take hundreds of years, and they're doing it instantaneously. Who's to say what other areas that, you know, their science has gone in? These are going to be beings that have, you know, probably been around millions of years longer than us. You imagine what our science is going to be like in a million years' time. You know, where are we going to be then if we're still here as a species?
Well, there's a lot of talk with aliens having, is it telekinesis, where you move things with your mind and you can speak with your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we constantly develop as a species like everything else on the planet, you know, and as we evolve, and, you know, we're starting to rely more and more on technology now. And this is why I think a lot of our more natural instincts, we're losing them. You know, if you went back 500 years ago and you encountered a human from 500 years ago, you would probably find they were a hell of a lot more in touch with nature than we are now as a species.
Yeah.
You know, because we rely on, the technology has increased and advanced. It's got to the point now where things we relied on biologically are no longer needed. And as you know, with nature eliminates nature is never wasteful. If it doesn't need something, it cuts it out. And, you know, and this is what I think is happening with us as a species now. And I think it's a dangerous path. And I'm the biggest fan of technology and I hold my hands up to it. But it is a dangerous path for us to be going down, because if something happens that one day we lose all that technology, we as a species are going to be in big trouble.
Yeah.
If aliens came down to look into our technology, and they went onto Twitter, they would just get into their spaceships and go and say, there's no hope for us.
Yeah.
It really would. Yeah.
But what you've got to think is for them to reach the state they're at now, their own civilization at some point had got to have been at the point we are now. Maybe not exactly, but they would have been at the same. They would have had similar social problems to what we've got now. Our only hope is that they have still got records of when they were like that. You know, because as you know, we know very little about what we were like a couple of thousand years ago, apart from what archaeologists have worked out. You know, we can't say with 100% certainty we behaved A, B, and C, you know, 1,000 years ago. We simply don't know. And things like the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Greeks and the Mayans and the Incas and all the technology and all the stuff they know. And even now, we do not know half of how they did what they did. You know, so as a species, we do lose sight of our history really quickly. So we've got to hope if these alien races do come and visit us, they've done a better job of remembering their past, so they're not just going to come down and think they're not, you know, just exterminate them because they're just totally primitive.
I need a life jacket drinking out of this mug. In case I fall in.
That's not a mug, it's a chamber pot.
It's like a flipping bucket. Oh.
It's a piss pot, to put it politely.
Seagull
says 100%. We probably have access to 30-40% of the knowledge tech hidden by our governments, perhaps even less. Probably even less than 30%, to be honest with you, Seagull. And, you know, I think once the way it works with us is once the government develops their next level of technology, then they leak it out to Joe Public. You know, they never leak out any technology that could in any way be a threat to them. They always, governments by nature always like to keep one step ahead.
Yeah.
You know, as a way of security.
Yeah, there's always going to be secrets, and it all revolves around defense. It's around military advancements and military technology. The reason why, people say, oh, you know, the government's lying to us, or the government is holding stuff back. There is a reason. I mean, like, people have a habit of opening their big gob, you know, and you don't want certain information going to the enemy. I mean, there's no matter what way, you know, we may be living in peace, but there's nuclear weapons pointing at countries.
Oh yeah,
at this moment in time. Do you know what I mean? And always being pointed at each other.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Seagull said, go on. Seagull says, I remember watching Bob Lazar explaining the propulsion systems of their craft. They don't travel conventionally, according to him. Their crafts bend the fabric of space-time. Now, see, 20 years ago, people would have laughed at that comment. And this is one of the biggest arguments of people who don't believe in UFOs and aliens and the possibility of life out there, because they say, you know, because of the vast distances, it would be physically impossible for them to get here. Modern physics has now proven that the ability to bend space is actually physically possible. You know, the theory is in place now that it is technically possible to bend space. If you can bend space, distance then becomes a relative. Because the way you imagine it is, you get a piece of paper and you draw two dots on opposite end of the paper. Now, if you've got to travel from one to the other conventionally, you have to draw a straight line from one to the other, correct?
Yep.
And there's a set distance. Now, imagine if you folded that paper in half to bring those two dots together. What's the distance?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Instantaneous, yeah.
Yeah, and this is why, you know, and modern day physics has actually proven now that the ability to fold space is physically possible. It doesn't break, you know, the laws of physics in any way, shape, or form. They know it's possible to do. It's just designing the technology to do it.
Jeez.
Jack says, is Bob Lazar the one who reverse engineered the craft? Bob Lazar was employed at Dreamland, which was a facility inside Area 51. And he was one of a team of people who was actually working. As he claims himself, there were 11 separate types of craft they were working on. He was employed to work on the propulsion system of one of them, which pretty much is your bog standard stereotypical saucer-shaped UFO. He eventually got out of it and went public, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things happened. There was attempts on his life. He was followed. His house was bugged. And the US government actually denied that he'd even worked for them. And it was only as a result of a very, very persistent investigative journalist who found the proof that actually blew the claim out the water that he never worked for the government. And the only reason they found out was they found his phone number in an old base phone directory. They literally wiped his school records, his employment records, his tax records, everything. They wiped his records off the face of the planet. And the only way they found it was they forgot to throw away all the old base telephone directories, and his actual name was listed against an extension number in the phone book, and that was how it was proved. But yeah, they attempted to reverse engineer the propulsion system on the saucer. It never happened, according to Bob, because basically it was that far advanced they simply couldn't understand what it was doing. It was powered by some really weird system that affected gravity. They did actually have the craft working. They did test fly it, but they couldn't reverse engineer it because it was so scientifically advanced. They simply didn't understand what it was doing. And as far as I'm aware, to this day, they still haven't been able to do it.
Yeah,
very interesting guy, Bob Lazar.
Yeah, I got news last week that, somebody told me that a friend of mine told me that a friend of theirs was a witness to a UFO in the sort of immediate area here, within 20 to 30 miles of here.
Yeah.
So if I interview this person, who's actually very religious, so I mean, like, she's not the type of person to sort of make stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I may not be able to interview her on camera, but I may be able to do an audio interview. And if the information, if the dates match the official UFO sightings in the immediate area, that will be very interesting.
Yeah, it will actually.
But if it doesn't match, it's still going to be interesting, because it's not something that I look into very often, you know, that kind of way. And surveillance of the sky is extremely difficult. You know, even trying to follow the moon, you know, which you can get these telescopes where it locks onto an object and it'll move.
Yeah.
I think you connect it up to your computer or something like that, and the telescope will move with the object, and that.
Yeah.
Trying to do that by hand is really hard, and especially when you have to try and zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you need to have something with a very powerful zoom, because when you zoom in fully, the slightest movement is huge at that distance away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thousands of miles that you're looking at the moon, one slight movement is hundreds of miles when you think of the distance between here and the moon. So if you move your camera a slight little twitch,
mm-hmm.
you put off that focus by a greater distance the further away it is.
Seagull says S4 supposedly a facility built inside of a mountain by Papoose Dry Lake. George Knapp actually got confirmation of multiple facilities called S4 at Area 51. That's correct. Seagull says, I don't know if I fancy being raided by the FBI Para. What did Para? Element 15, I want some. Yeah, that is another thing. They actually discovered an element that has only recently been put on our elemental table. Jack says, what I am finding is some people on YouTube who talk about UFOs have made it like a religion, and it is really unsettling and weird. Abductees and all. The UFO community, there are some real characters in it, and there are some real diehard people in there, some real hard case ufologists. If you think the ghost hunting people are bad, you've met nothing until you encounter the ufologists. I personally am friends, or was friends, for over 20 years with a woman who is one of the most documented UFO abductees in the UK. Now, I can't mention a name. Julie's now thinking she's a parrot and bobbing her head.
It's bobbing at me.
Who?
A cockatoo.
Oh. You know, I was friends for 20 years with a woman who is one of the most documented UK abductees in the country. She has been in numerous UFO magazines. She has appeared on US. She was flown to America and appeared on the Jay Leno show to tell a story. And from what I know personally of the woman, I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth in terms of UFO abduction. But I am a big believer in UFOs and abductees. I just don't believe that this woman, who is well into the UFO community, is telling the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and that's from knowing her for 20 years on a personal level. I actually met her before I even knew of her UFO connections. Believe it or not, I met her through Shebas, through the dogs, not through UFO circles. She's very well known over here in UFO circles, but I wouldn't believe a word that comes out of the woman's mouth in terms of her abduction stories.
I guess that's one of the things about putting all of that for the other abductees, putting so much information into the media. You're always going to have those copycats that come up for attention.
And that is exactly what it is. It is an attention thing. It was done for money. But mainly it was done to be center of attention and to feel special.
Yeah.
You know, and I know this woman very, very well. Very well.
Yeah.
Seago says, true, I met a guy who was responsible for multiple crop circles at a festival I played at. He was hanging around backstage and was very unique. Yeah, there are some characters in the field. Nice enough, but totally obsessed with the subject. Basically believed his entire purpose was a mission of enlightenment on the subject of UFOs, etc.
You said characters in the field.
Yeah.
Literally.
I just keep remembering that movie, Field of Dreams.
Signs. Field of Dreams.
They will come.
They will come. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I am a big believer in UFOs. I'm a big believer in alien life. I believe they come here. I believe they're still coming here. And I do believe that they are taking people for whatever reason. But I don't swallow things up line and sinker. Just because I'm a believer doesn't mean I believe everything I'm told. And in the case of that woman, like I say, she's one of the most documented UK abductee there is in the country. And I don't believe a word she says. because I know her personally.
Seco says, I've met many characters and feel Sam.
Right, we've been on for 2 hours, and on that happy note, I think we're going to call it a night. So again, brilliant discussion. We had a nice little laugh at the beginning with the boxes. So I'd like to say thank you to Sam and Julie for coming on again. Check out their channels. Julie is Unearthly Wanderings. Sam obviously is Life After Life Productions. I'd like to thank you all in the comments for coming in and, you know, with your questions and your opinions. Really makes these discussions worthwhile for 2 hours. You know, I look forward to these every week because it's 2 hours of talking with like-minded people. So it's always good.
I mean, like it's communication. You know, some of us are here on our own.
Yeah.
I mean, the dog's not going to talk to me. You know what I mean? You know, and it's just good to have conversations about what we enjoy doing. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Right. So thank you all. If you should like to say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Bye, and thanks very much for everybody that's come in tonight.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it is appreciated, and it's brilliant having these discussions with everybody.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
can I just say?
yeah,
Can
go
I
on.
just say? Can I just say? You know, Julie has another channel, the Unearthly Vlogs, and she's put an awful lot of effort into it lately, and the production value, the production effort that's gone into that is absolutely brilliant. You know,
Thank you.
so check that one out as well.
Plus, you get the fun of reading all my rude comments.
Yeah.
Right. So we will see you the same time next week, 9:15 next Friday. I don't know what state I'm going to be in because there's a new computer game I have been waiting 4 years to play. It's finally being released, so I will probably be doing a very long stint on that. So I'll probably look like a bug-eyed alien next Friday. So thank you all. Have a good night, everybody, and keep yourself safe and keep on believing. Have a good night, everybody.
Definitely.
Night.
Bye.